will be college football's best freshman this season?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I am your host, Brian Smith. We're going to go over a bevy of different things tonight, but overall, this is going to be about the freshmen around college football. We're going to use a little comparison, what's been going on at different programs over the last year. We're also going to talk about some week one matchups, but again, it's about the freshmen. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app, use code LOCKEDON and get $10 off your first trade of $10. But here's the take that I have. After last year, nothing really surprises me. Just among other people, Malachi Toney, including the playoffs, was over 100 catches for the University of Miami. We had three prominent programs, just off the top of my head, end up with starters at quarterback. Bear Bachmeier at BYU, Malik Washington at Maryland, obviously Bryce Underwood at Michigan. Quarterback starting in major FBS is not normal. Like, Bryce came out and started right away. Bear Bachmeier was the guy pretty much from day one. Like, everybody should be a little surprised by that to a certain degree, but it's just becoming more and more. And it's also why there are so many good players that I think are going to have a better chance this year to start right away, or at least be very close, maybe the first couple of games. So who should we go with first? Is it Jared Curtis or Faizon Brandon? Those, ironically, are both stated in the state of Tennessee. The Vols get Brandon. Jared Curtis ends up playing with Vanderbilt. He's a hometown hero. He's from Nashville. I'm not sure which one's going to have the better year, but because I know Faizon a little better, it's going to lean that way just because I know him better. There's no reason. Jared was really nice to me when I was around him the one time I was. But let's start with Faizon Brandon and why I think he is a guy that can be a game changer for Tennessee. And they don't have an easy schedule by any means. I don't think they're going to have a great season. We're going to actually talk about them during the break with Kalshi with their prediction totals. But that is an incredible athlete. I've seen him multiple times at Elite 11. I have seen him in 7-on-7 action. I've seen him at Under Armour Future 50. Anything that he can do now, he does better tomorrow. He really engulfs the idea of taking every bit of coaching he can. He's great, and he's candid with the media. His family's nice. Everything about him is what you would want. And it's why Tennessee dumped a bunch of money on him to get him to come up from the state of North Carolina to go to Knoxville. I'm not sure he's going to start from game one, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I will be shocked if Faizon Brandon isn't the main guy by game 4 or 5, conservatively. They may rotate quarterbacks. I don't know. They're in a tough spot. Playing freshman, redshirt freshman is not ideal in the Southeastern Conference behind center. But I'm telling you, with his mentality, his arm strength, and his incredible athleticism, you can run the full gamut of the offense, and you can add the dynamic of the play's a bust, but he'll make 3 guys miss and go get you 30. He is as modern a quarterback as you will get. Tremendous athlete. He could play receiver at Tennessee, or he could play quarterback. He's that kind of athlete. Now let's talk about Jared Curtis. This is a young man that is not just a strong arm guy. Like, he's got one of those elite arms in terms of sidearm, throwing into the wind, whatever. He can cut through it. And he played a very low level in Tennessee. He played at Nashville Christian. He told me about it when I met him. But he goes out and he dominates it. And he did that throughout his career. And he committed to Georgia, ended up flipping to Vanderbilt at the end, wants to play right away at a school that's his hometown. Obviously, Vanderbilt's a good school. I'm curious to see what he's able to do, because everybody's now going to circle Vanderbilt on their schedule after they won 10 games last year. It's a different kind of situation for them. Is he ready for that? He's been ready for a long time because he wants it. I can just tell you from being around him, he is not afraid of competition. But now I'm just worried about who he has around him to make sure that he doesn't get cut in half. Playing in the SEC as a true freshman, again, it's not ideal, but he's expected to be the guy. I don't know how much of the playbook he's really been able to bring in and utilize and the coaches are comfortable with it to call the plays, but he's going to be called upon to do it regardless at some point because they're going to be behind a lot. This is probably a 6-win team, give or take. If they're able to get past that, it'll probably be because of Curtis. Now I want to throw out a few of the quarterbacks in general and just kind of put it in perspective. Those two, Faizon Brandon, he's from North Carolina. Curtis, he's from Tennessee. But the other kid, I just want to bring him up, even though he's not in the SEC, is Keisean Henderson. He's from down in the Houston area, and just from an athletic standpoint, Keisean might be the best athlete in the class, regardless of position. Could have been a free safety, could have been a corner, could have been a running back, could have been anything. Wanted to play quarterback. He's going to the university right down the road from him, the Houston Cougars. I think it's fantastic. He's a great young man, has a lot of charisma. I believe that those around Houston will rally behind him. They've got Wegman coming back, though. He's a graduate student for the Cougars. How will they use Keisean? Like, is he going to have a package? Is he going to play some offense beyond quarterback? I have no idea. But I do trust in Willie Fritz and that offensive staff to kind of figure it out. He's capable of being their best punt returner. Like, he's that level of athlete. How do you use Keisean Henderson? That is something that I think will be fun. Let's also talk about the non-quarterbacks that I think, just among others, and there'll be several others as well that will play. Savion Hiter, running back. He's out of the state of Virginia. Give or take 210 pounds, 215 pounds. He's added some muscle since he arrived in Ann Arbor. Electric speed. Didn't play elite level competition in high school, but he dominated. He was really good at the Under Armour event. I'm curious to see how well he adapts to being at the University of Michigan. And from all signs, from what we've heard in the media, that he's going to be that guy. Kelvin Obot, he's out of Idaho. He's big-time offensive tackle. Utah's not the deepest team. I think he'll be the first tackle off the bench. At some point, he's probably going to play this year, if not start. I wouldn't be surprised if he took somebody's job by the middle of the year if he's not already in the lineup. Big-time player. It's just so random he was in Idaho. Congrats to the Utes on getting him. Ian Premer, tight end for University of Notre Dame. He's out of Kansas. He almost went to Iowa State or Kansas State, but he goes with the Irish. They've got a great tradition at tight end. They're not as deep right now as they normally are, and he's probably their best pure playmaker at this position. At some point this year, I expect him to make quite a few plays, and I also want to throw Caden Prothro out there. I didn't put him on this page, but University of Georgia, they're a little deeper than Notre Dame this year at tight end, but Prothro is an elite athlete too, 6'5", 6'6", 220 pounds. He's from Bowdoin, Georgia, won 4 state titles in high school. He'll play a lot. Chris Henry, speaking of big players out wide, yes, Chris Henry Jr., he's the son of the late Chris Henry, played for West Virginia and Cincinnati Bengals. He's from Mater Dei High School in California. He's going to play for the Buckeyes. He's made an impact at Ohio State, but they're so deep. I'm not sure exactly when he'll be the starter, if he will, but he's going to play and he's going to make noise. And that's the same thing with TK Keys. He's from down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, long, athletic, really started to come into his own as he got into his senior year, late junior year, playing with Coastline, and then through his senior season. He's a guy that can run by people, but he also makes great plays after the catch, despite being about 6'3". Athletes like TK are not your normal guys. Most guys that are able to move like him are more in the 5'10" to 5'9" kind of range. So I think he's going to be a stud and probably the first receiver, if not second, off the bench for the Vols. He will have an impact on that season. It could be Keys with Faizon Brandon hooking up some this year. 2 elite 5-star guys coming into your offense. I'm sure Vols fans are excited for that. And to that end, why would they not be? They absolutely should be. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball. Then I want to talk within that segment as well, week 1 matchups in college football. We're close enough now. We can actually talk about games. Think about that. College football games. It's not a great week 1 slate, but there's enough games and enough interest that I'm going to throw in my own thoughts on a handful of them, because we need to get a look at some teams before they play bigger games in week 2, week 3. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who's going to win the division, NFC East, who's going to make the playoffs, college football or pro football, who's lifting the trophy at season end, wherever you're at. On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. I looked it up before the show since we're going to talk about Tennessee quite a bit. The Vols are one of the more volatile, yes, pun intended, volatile teams in this year's prediction market. I think they're going to win around 7 games, maybe get to 8. 9+ is at 37% on Kalshi right now. 8 is at 58%. And 7, the one that I'm most likely to go with, is 77%. Where would you be? Everybody can trade on just about anything. It can be politics, it can be sports, you name it, culture. There's all kinds of stuff. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, more, whatever you want to do on Kalshi. Download the app, create a code, locked on to get $10 off when you trade $10. Kalshi is spelled Kalshi. Trade on anything. All right, let's discuss the defensive side of the ball. There are a handful of freaky dudes that I think are going to get a chance to play early on the edge. And there's one D tackle I want to mention because I didn't think he got enough love in the recruiting game when it was going through. But I mean, he was highly recruited, but just didn't get a lot of love there. So we'll go with the defensive line here. But LaDamion Guyton, I saw him play last year, and I'd heard about him the year before. Really technically sound for a younger guy. Long, lean guy, 6'4", 6'5", somewhere in there, 230. Goes to Texas Tech. Obviously, he took the check, but they recruited the heck out of him early, made him a priority. He committed pretty early, and he's enrolling a year early. Guyton is a freak. When I saw him play live, the way he could chase down plays from the backside tells me he's going to be a premier edge rusher, not only in college, but barring injury or anything stupid off the field, there's no reason he won't be an NFL player, period. I didn't get the chance to see Rodney Dunham play live, the young man out of North Carolina that's going to Notre Dame, but he had a really good spring at Notre Dame. He's competing for a number 2 spot already, and they rotate a lot. Really powerful frame. He's a little bit different build than Guyton. Maybe he's up to 240, I would guess, something like that. I'm not sure exactly where he's at, but I liked what I saw of him in the spring. And Notre Dame's D-line coach is tremendous. I expect him to play pretty early, especially in passing situations, much like Guyton at Texas Tech. The D-tackle that I mentioned a minute ago is Jamieon Winfield. He's out of Richardson, Texas, just outside of Dallas, about 320 pounds. He's massive. He's one of those rare interior guys that can not only rush the passer a little bit, but he can two-gap for you if you really needed him to. And he's a player that can just clog up the middle in general, whether you're running a 4-man front or a 3-man front. He's going to find his way into that rotation at USC, in my opinion, and you can never have enough defensive tackles. Speaking of USC, Luke Wafel, out of the Hun School in New Jersey, 6'5", 260, 270, somewhere in that range. Really, really advanced technically, and he's a guy that's put the work in the weight room, not to get too big per se, but he's athletic enough. I expect him to make some plays. And again, just like with Winfield, they'll rotate him in. You can never have enough defensive linemen. And they went out and got him and gave him a bag, and he's a top 15 player in the country by any measurement. Wafel's going to play. Finally, Zion Ely, had a chance to see him at the Under Armour game. Freaky athlete. He's from St. Francis in Baltimore, the famous program that sent players all around the country. He is going to be a Terrapin. They don't have many guys like him down there at the University of Maryland. I expect him to play early. It wouldn't even shock me at all if he ended up starting a few games or doing something at least like he's a starter in the nickel package. Maybe he's going to be the starter in the dime package too. But speed rushing, that's something he can do. He's really talented. And just as a little bonus, I don't know which one it will be that ends up being the best, but LSU has not 1, not 2, but 3 interior defensive linemen that I think are going to be really good. Let's go over all of them. I've seen them all play. Deuce Geralds is out of the same high school as Travis Hunter and Collins Hill, just outside Atlanta. Elite spin move, quickness, twitchy, and he's over 280 pounds. Really, really talented player. He's gotten a lot of opportunities to play since enrolling in the spring. He's been rotating in the 1s and the 2s. I would imagine he's going to play right away. Richard Anderson, he's just by his frame, you'd say he's just a plugger. He is not. Richard is absolutely an athlete. He plays at around 340 pounds. I don't know where he's at now since he's been in, training camp. He's probably losing some water weight, but that is a guy that can, again, 2-gap, but he can get up the field. He can make people miss. I've seen him make a guy whiff in a pass rush drill in a one-on-one. It's pretty impressive. And finally, Lamar Brown. He's from right there in Baton Rouge. That's a young man that everybody likes to be around. He's a good dude. Another guy that can play either side of the ball and be really, really good. He wants to play defense. I think he's going to be your pure three-tech, like traditional. He's 290 pounds, give or take. I think he's a combination of Deuce and Richard. He's somewhere in between in terms of like the length and size. I really like Lamar. And I don't know which one of the three will make the biggest impact among them, but I think all of them have that opportunity. Now I want to talk a little bit about the first week of college football season. I'm just happy to be talking about it. And I know some of the games that I'm going to be discussing here are not exactly what you would call premium. A few of them are okay, but most importantly, what I'm interested in, and this is what I suggest for anybody watching the show or listening to this later on, how do the teams look that have the question marks, that may even have a little bit of a concern with their coach? I'll go over one in particular in a second. And are they going to be competitive, or is it just going to be another disappointing season? So right out of the gate, Saturday, August 29th, North Carolina versus TCU. It's weird. The game is in Aviva Stadium in Ireland. I don't know what's going on with that, but I digress. The point is still the same. Football is football. I'm going to watch it. TCU's favored, depending on where you look, give or take a touchdown. Is North Carolina going to field a decent offense this year? Defense wasn't bad, but we need to see something. TCU, on the other hand, Josh Hoover just left. He transferred to Indiana. Really don't know what to expect from them. They bring in the quarterback from Harvard. Good player, but I need to see what he's able to do. That game is probably the best matchup first weekend in terms of just like total intrigue, because I don't know what to expect from either team. The other one that I'm really intrigued with is North Carolina State playing at Virginia. It's in Charlottesville, so it's a normal game. That's an important one. Remember now, Virginia was in the ACC title game last year. Different quarterback. They'll probably start Bo Perbula, I think. NC State's in a much better situation with their quarterback and everything, but they got some transfers in. There's some hope there. But if they lose to Virginia week one, what does that say about NC State? I'm worried about their defense too. In week one, offenses aren't always the greatest. It's on the road. Virginia is technically favored in the game. I have no idea what to expect in that. I really wouldn't want to touch it. I'm not really a big gambling guy, but first week, road game for the Wolfpack. I'm actually pretty excited to see what they do. CJ Bailey's probably going to throw it around a little bit. Obviously, losing Hollywood Smothers, transfer to Texas. That's not great, but they have some other good athletes. Let's see what the Wolfpack can do on the road. Is if they've got any semblance of an offense that I think they're going to have, and then they can just be competent on defense, they could be a threat to make it to the ACC title game and probably play against Miami. A couple of the other games that I find interesting that weekend, Hawaii at Stanford. Now, you're probably like, why do you care about that? I'm always curious to see what Hawaii has. We don't get to hear much about them being out on the island. And then Stanford, it's total reboot. We have no idea what we should expect out of them. I couldn't name two players on that roster right now. Stanford is a shell of what it was 10 years ago. And quite frankly, it's a program that needs some direction. It was rudderless. Obviously, the problems in the offseason last year, Bear Bachmeier was headed there, and then he ended up not going there. Because of that, he ends up at BYU. And look what happened. By the way, he was a really good freshman last year to the point where I'm curious to see him as well. But is there going to be anything from Stanford, or are they just going to be another team that just gets plowed? And to that end, I talked about this many times before. I have no idea what to really expect out of Florida State, but I don't have high hopes. They host New Mexico State that first weekend. New Mexico State, Trey Hedden kid I know, played at Tampa Catholic, is now the quarterback. He was at Furman, transferred over to New Mexico State. So he gets to go back to his home state and play. Does FSU come out and dominate them? They're favored by over 30. But is that a game where they're definitely going to win and just dominate? Or are they actually going to be able to come out there and just kind of run their offense, do whatever they want? Yeah, I said this on Locked On Seminoles. It's one thing to beat a team up that is inferior to you, just running basic plays. Will they throw the ball in the middle of the field? Is Ashton Daniels going to be accurate? Are they going to show anything besides just screens and bombs with the receivers? They got SMU in Alabama the next 2 weeks, but I'm of the mindset if you have players like they do at receiver, they got some talented receivers. And Deuce Geralds is one of the better running backs nobody really knows about in college football. He's going to be a sophomore for the Noles. You need to show it off a little bit. You need to show some of your offense and to say, hey, we're Florida State. We'll see where that's at. Finally, a G6 game that I think is going to be really good. Memphis at UNLV. That's the 9 o'clock Eastern game on Fox. That ought to be a good game, man. Memphis has got more money than most, if not all the teams in the G6 because of FedEx in their proximity. But UNLV's a quality program. Dan's got it going there. I'm kind of curious to see what happens with that game. But it's not a great slate of games by any means, but it is college football, and I'm just happy to have it. When we come back, I want to jump into the chat. I want to hear your thoughts. If you've got questions about any of the freshmen or anything else, let me know. That is next right here on Locked On Seminoles. Should have said Locked On the Portal. You can tell where my head's at. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There are more live events than ever we're seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you wanted to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, surprising fees, buying tickets can sometimes be, honestly, a big hassle, and it's a lot harder than it should be at bare minimum. That's why so many people, like myself, have turned to Game Time, the app built to buy a ticket, make it simple, and not a headache. Here's the deal. I've gotten tickets not once, but twice on Game Time and got in and out in 8 minutes or less both times. The biggest thing for me, you get the price up front. You can set that up so you always know the price. There's no change at the end, and you can see your seat view right on your phone. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, let's get into the chat and have a little fun. I know Salty's definitely got some questions in there for me. I'm not sure who else does, but we're going to have fun with it all the way through regardless. How was my weekend? It's pretty relaxing. I actually took a nap yesterday, and that was kind of fun. Nice to have one of those once in a while. Now that the 5-for-5 era has begun, is a true freshman simply a freshman? That's what I'm going to call them because everything else is irrelevant. It's a good question, though. Now that the 5-for-5 era has begun, and awards and recognition such as Freshman All-American restricted to only freshmen, it will be for me. Again, there's only one way to look at it. You just get 5 straight years. That's the way it should be. Salty, should Notre Dame's 4-for-40 value proposition now be 5-for-50? I don't know. That's, 4-for-40 is something that's been coined forever, but I guess you could. Some schools guarantee scholarships for a year. Some guarantee for all 4, regardless which schools use. Are any schools likely to guarantee 5 years? I could see somebody like Rice, something like that, but I don't think many schools will because they're trying to win. With redshirt priorities no longer an issue, do you expect more freshmen to play immediately and in more than 4 games? Absolutely. Look, you get them for 5 anyway. And some teams want to get their best physically talented players on the field, especially on special teams. I think you'll see a lot of freshmen on the kickoff and punt teams in particular, where their speed and athleticism can be truly utilized. Salty, of all the team units that stand likely to benefit from immediate contributions from talented freshmen, do you agree that special teams will benefit the most? I don't know if it's a lock, but for most, like the elite teams, it is. For somebody that's more like mid-level or lower-level P4, like Purdue, it could be offense or defense. Depends on your talent. Like Rodney Dunham would start at Purdue. He's not going to start at Notre Dame. Attention is obviously on freshmen able to contribute immediately, but does the 5-for-5 rule also increase interest in low-floor, high-ceiling guys who might need 3+ years to develop for years 4 and 5? I think that's been the case. Again, this is who you are kind of situation. If you're Iowa State, you were recruiting those guys anyway. If you're Notre Dame or Michigan or Georgia, you might look at those kids a little more because you know it's a 5-year deal. But those schools are still trying to get the 3-and-out guys. So this is more about layers. If you're Iowa State, same boat. You were going to redshirt them, and they were going to be there for 5 anyway. If you're Washington State, Oregon State, like the new Pac-12, San Diego State, 100%. But teams, even like South Carolina, they're trying to get elite kids. So not a lot. I just think it's the teams that just can't get the players they really want. How will the 5-for-5 rule affect the portal? It seems that the extra year of eligibility would make transfers able to play as juniors and seniors more attractive, as neither would be one and done. This will get really tricky, and it's something I've been trying to work out, so congrats to Salty, and this might be his best question of the day, maybe one of his best ever. I think it's going to be a team-by-team deal. I don't think everybody really knows exactly what they're going to do yet, because one philosophy, I brought this up here on the Portal Podcast, you bring in 20 guys a year on average, high school and JUCO kids. And you take 5 to 8 portal guys and just kind of mix them in. That's kind of what Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State kind of do. But now more teams can do that because of the 5-year rule. You automatically get 5 years to play everybody. So everybody's essentially a redshirt, for lack of a better way to put it. There could still be some teams that go with 23, 24 and kind of run guys off. I have my opinions about that, but continuity won't be as good. There'll be more volatility when you do that. But overall, I think the portal and just the players in general, you just got to be on your P's and Q's, whether you're a high school guy, JUCO guy, or somebody in the portal. They have more options because of the 5-year rule on where they can get players. The players that do the best off the field, how they handle social media, how they handle the media, how they handle their grades, how they practice, just doing the right things, those will be the ones that aren't impacted by it because coaches will want them on their rosters no matter where they come from. The freshmen I expect to materially contribute for the Irish include Jonas Walton, running back out of Georgia, Ian Premer out of Kansas, Rodney Dunham out of North Carolina, Joey Bryan out of the Philadelphia area, and Jasper Scaife, the punter. Do you agree? I don't know much about Scaife, but it sounds like he's got a big leg. I saw a report about that the other day. I don't follow kickers and punters, but the other guys are all going to play. Walton, I think, will play the least because they're so loaded at running back, even losing 2 first-round picks, but I think he'll play a role at some point this year. There could be somebody else, too. That freshman class is pretty special. From working with him over the summer and the last 3 fall camps, C.J. Carr said Jaden Greathouse is playing at the playoff level he did 2 years ago. His contested catch and yards after catch abilities have been excelling. C.J. Carr also said that the Great One, having built up his body, is now dominant against man, and he will force teams into heavy zone. How will Carr use this to his advantage? As long as they've got a comfort level with each other, it's just about timing and rhythm. I don't think it's going to be that difficult, really. Carr also said that expecting Greathouse to force more zone, he has been working with his quarterback coaches on changing velocities to throw better, wearing them into the zones. Is this a good idea? Absolutely. Over the linebacker, in front of the safety or the corner, whatever. That's pretty straightforward. You have to do that. I think he's pretty good at it to begin with anyway, to be really honest with you. Here's a question for everybody that I put in the chat. For anyone's favorite team, who's the freshman making the most noise this season? For Notre Dame, Rodney Dunham and Jonas Walton are making a lot of noise, says Salty. Hurricane Hicks, what's going on? Miami, J.J. Dunnigan, good safety. Jackson Cantwell and Ben Congdon, Samorian Wingo. Cantwell and Congdon are offensive tackles. Wingo's a receiver. Miami always finds a way to get some of the freshmen on the field. I don't know if any of them will have as big an impact as Malachi did last year. Maybe not as much as Fitz, but they'll all play. What's going on, Tommy Guns? How you doing, sir? Faizon Brandon's name should be Brandon Faizon. I think that's why they went with it the other way around. He's a good dude, too. Man, before I clicked on the video, I saw the notification and thought Jordan Faizon for a second. That's hilarious. Tommy, I thought the same. Is Luke Wafel related to Owen? Yeah, there's 3 brothers. There's a younger one committed to SC as well. I want to see Miami's offensive line against Stanford, says Lionel. I do too. I'm curious who they bring out, how they use them, if they change anything with the run game. Stanford is dreadful. They'll beat the bejesus out of them. For those that don't know, Miami plays Stanford in their first game. That will not be competitive. But I didn't even really bring that up first weekend. Is that week 0 for Miami? I can't remember if they play them or not. Yeah, they play them the next weekend. Okay, so it's week 2, but Miami is going to just blitzkrieg poor Stanford. Hurricane Hicks, JoJo and Chance Robinson should help elevate North Carolina State's offense. JoJo and Chance signed with Miami. They're South Florida guys. They played with the same crew that Jeremiah Smith did coming up. That's a really good program to be a part of, SFE. Lionel, JoJo didn't want to compete in Miami. I hope he can play more at NC State. Heard he's playing well. We'll see if he gets on the field. Freshman, I can see DJ defensive end, the safety for Miami, and don't sleep on Wingo or Ben Starford. I think you meant Ben Congdon. DJ, very few people follow kickers and punters for good reason, I might add. Difficult people, I tell you what. Cantwell and Dunnigan, says Chandler Bontrager. Wouldn't be surprised. Van Stafford, oh, okay, is flashing in the returning. Stafford's athletic as all get out. He's from Southern California, signed with Miami. He's a speedster. I watched him run a 4.35 laser. He can go. Offensive line, Joel Irvin from Miami as well. I saw a video of him online. Holy cow. Joel is a big old fella, and he can push some people out of the way. He's got a chance to be a really good football player. I didn't know how big he was until I saw that video. So curious to see where they play him, guard or tackle, right side or left, but he's got the goods. I think it's pretty obvious. Thank you to everybody that showed up tonight for the Portal Podcast live show. We'll do another little bit of a look at Freshmen tomorrow, talk about some more games, and also going to talk a little bit about some of the teams that I have some questions about. I want you all, for those of you who come in a lot and check out everything, let me know what teams that you think need to have something answered, like in week 1, week 2, for you to believe that they are truly a national title contender. We'll add that to the discussion tomorrow night, because honestly, I think that's a fascinating one, and it's never ending. So with that, we got one more right down here. Chandler's got one. Congdon, Cantwell, and Irvin will be maulers for years to come. Probably right. DJ says, thanks, Brian. Appreciate you. Notre Dame's wide receiver room. Yeah. They should be improved this year. Everybody, thank you very much. Please like and subscribe to the Portal Podcast. This has been another Portal After Dark. We will see you again tomorrow.